together and celebrate. Both of them actually committed before break, and then, with the hecticness of the holiday season, we weren't able to find the time for everybody to get together. So this is just a great way to kickstart. It's 2025, and I think set the tone and the precedent for, what this team and this program is about. We don't need to go up here and we don't need to stand up here and boast the number of athletes that we've had commit at the collegiate level. We've already had 2 of our girls, Ellie and Kenzie, sign earlier this year, and to add 2 more from their graduating class is huge. A thing that I say at every signing is teams are lucky if every once in a while they have somebody who signs. And it just seems like year after year we continue to have, here's the SAT word, plethora of athletes who continue to compete at the collegiate level. Additionally, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar, but it's getting harder and harder to compete at the collegiate level. There's been a lot of changes that have been made the past couple of years, and for these 2 to be able to navigate that in really uncharted territory, as they've been talking with these coaches and getting advice from us, we're like, we've never been in this situation. The times are changing, recruiting is changing, the transfer portal is changing, and so I think it's a huge accomplishment that these 2 landed roster spots on some pretty awesome programs. These 2 guys standing here have very different stories to tell. Trevor came to us in 8th grade and was just immediately a force to be reckoned with. During COVID, he actually won middle school state, set the course record at Polgreen Park, and has just continued to achieve excellence every single year, individually qualifying for states, being a member of every single varsity cross-country team since he's been here, including the 2 that took away the state title, whereas Sean has to work really hard for where he is. Sean started in JV. It's really been fun to look back at pictures and just see, he also was 2 feet shorter when he started, but to see him on the starting line with other JV members, and then it just seems like each meet, each season, he was working his way up and just worked really hard to be here today. Trevor can run really successfully with low mileage. He has had his fair shares of ups and downs and injuries, and we've had to mediate what the ideal mileage is for him, whereas Sean will bust his butt and he logs in those miles, and the more miles in that kid, the better. And so it reflects this one thing that I've learned from Doc. Doc came on our coaching staff quite a few years ago at this point, and we had very different coaching styles. And at the end of the day, we were just like, but you know what? There's many roads to the top. There's not a singular right way to get there. And I think both of these boys exemplify that. They have gotten to the same spot, taking very different paths. And I think that's something for you guys to take away, is you have the ability to carve your own path. Your path doesn't need to look like Trevor's. Your path doesn't need to look like Sean's. But the thing that they both do share in common is they both worked really, really hard to be here. Boys, congratulations. We are so happy to celebrate you today.
I think she read my notes because she took half of what I'm going to say. As she asked me as we were walking up here, she goes, "You got the numbers, right?" Because I'm the numbers guy. So adding a little background to what we were talking about in terms of the different paths. For Trevor, and I would point out too, it's kind of interesting to look back, I had forgotten that Trevor came on in that first wonky COVID year, where we did the weird cross-country club, and we were inventing things as they went along. So he navigated that chaos really well too, which it was a really challenging year. But I got his first 800 at 211, and he moved to a 204, and I hope to see him sub 2 by the end of this little trip. Started out as a 444, which is really fast for somebody coming into the program, and has a best of 428, 956 in the 3200, and it's down to 929, and probably the most impressive 1807 in the 5K and down to 15:15. He flirted with breaking 15. And we got awful close. Known as unbuttoned my jacket, I will point out I attempted to match the colors. The blue, crimson, and the gray hat. That was the best I could do for you guys. So, obviously, Trevor came in at a really high level. He also was a ball of energy. I remember that. I mean, it was like a whirling dervish. Every time I looked over, he was chattering away and slapping somebody on the back, and just, I mean, he was just had energy off the charts. The other thing he brought in was high aspirations. It's the rare athlete that has that ability. I talk about creating safe space in front of you to improve into, and he had that from the get-go. I mean, as soon as he knocked off one number, he was looking for the next. And that's just a unique ability. And then I think the other thing I would point out is the downside of coming in as fast as he did is every second is harder to get. It's not like when you come in at a 22 flat in the 5K, and then you can drop 20, 30 seconds off at a single time. When you come in at his high level, it just, it's harder and harder to get better. You have to work harder and harder at it. And you have to get close to the candle flame too. We talked about him getting dinged a little bit. That's kind of comes with the program, because to get better and better, you have to get closer and closer to whatever that edge is for each one of you. So, and then finally, I just say something about, his leadership. He led from the front, as I say. I mean, he wasn't afraid to throw himself up there and be that guy that was going to try and battle and get as few points as possible, or get as many as possible in track, and lead from there. And he did a really nice job.
These two today, and with Trevor, I feel like he's just been on the team forever. Kind of like a Benjamin Button figure at Glen. And this is like a really special grade level for me, because I started when they were freshmen. So this is like the first group that I've been able to see like go all the way through. And I don't want to be totally repetitive, but it really is true. Like, Trevor came in and from the beginning has been such an important part of the program. And it's been fun to see you kind of transition from being a freshman, hanging with like the seniors and juniors, and now kind of moving into that role yourself. I think one big thing that stands out for Trevor, for me, is how much of a goal setter he is. Like, sometimes he'll stay up and I'm like, that's a big number, or a small number, more like. And it's just been really fun to watch you set those goals and go for them pretty fearlessly. And I'm really proud of everything you accomplished here and what you will later.